symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Sitting Ringside. My name is David Penzer, and happy that you are here on ad-free shows to listen to this thing that we call a podcast. And haven't done an opening in a few weeks. We just go right to the guests. I want to thank Tony Khan for last week, and fantastic interview. And I guess I win the booby prize of the first person to ever ask him who what the third show he was fantasy booking was called. But they had a great week, and he's a great guy, and congratulations to him. If you didn't get a chance to listen to that, you're not busy. It wasn't timely. It was just about his life and his journey and as a wrestling fan and starting All Elite Wrestling. So I suggest you go back and watch it. We're going to dedicate this episode to Shannon Spruil, aka Daffney, who really stopped the wrestling world for about 12, 14 hours, and unfortunately, it didn't end well. But the reason I'm doing it, and there's an episode of Sitting Ringside when the time is right. I don't know when that time is, that I want to release, and maybe like ask people to pay like $1 that goes towards the Mental Health Association, or $5 or something to listen to it, because I don't want anything from it. It's been taped. It was done 2 years ago. It's 2 hours. It's her whole story. We talk in depth about both of our mental health challenges. And I was very proud. That was the first podcast where I ever spoke publicly about mental health challenges, and which were noted. By the way, nothing as bad as she was going through, knock on wood. But I basically dealt with anxiety and panic attacks since I was 18 years old, so almost my entire life. But I want to dedicate this to her. She's was an incredible person. She lit up a room. We're going to talk to Bobby Cruz, and we're going to bring a Ring of Honor ring announcer who also was a close. I got to know her later after her career was over, actually, and became very close friends. And we're going to talk to Crowbar, who was there from the very beginning, and who's the one who had to tell me the bad news that next morning. But I urge you, if you know anybody, and I'm going to say this a million times, and I'm sorry if I get sick of it, but it's important to me, and it's important to anybody who loved and miss Shannon. If you know anybody who is down, who's going through a bad time, if you know, if you're going through a bad time, or you're down, or your spouse, or your sibling, or your child, reach out to somebody. If there's nobody to reach out to, there's 100 free numbers out there. Life is precious, and sometimes it feels like you'd rather not be here, and sometimes it feels like it's futile. But I can tell you that I know from experience, both personally and dealing with other people who have gone through this, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes it takes a little while, but reach out. Life is precious. Nobody will ever, and we'll talk to Bobby and Crowbar about this, but nobody will ever understand why she didn't reach out to somebody. There were I didn't watch the video feed, but apparently there are people calling her over and over again as she's doing this video feed. If she would have just picked up the phone, and I'm going to get into this with both my guests, if she just picked up the phone, maybe things could be different. So the mind is a powerful thing, not only always in a good way, but I want to dedicate this issue to Daffney, Shannon Spruil. A bright light went out a couple of weeks ago, and there's a whole lot of people that are going to miss you like crazy. And thank you for the memories and the fun and the good times. Thank you for drinking me and Fit Finley under a table in Germany during the day. Still one of my top 10 stories. Top 10 experiences in my 30 years around pro wrestling. And totally random. We didn't plan it. Just happened to meet up in the lobby, and hey, want to go drinking? Sure. She drank us both under the table. Me, it's not so hard. Fit, it's a feat. So thank you for that. And if I could see anything, at least I hope you have some peace, and love you. And We're going to bring on Bobby here in a minute, and then we'll talk to Crowbar. Please, if you know anybody, if you're going through anything like this, reach out, throw them a lifeline. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, but I know it doesn't feel that way. So without further ado, as I sometimes say, we will bring on my first guest this week, a friend of, actually got to know her, had a crush on her in WCW, didn't we all? And got to know her towards the end of, after she was out of the business. I stayed in touch with her a little bit, but they really had a huge friendship. And his name is Bobby Cruz. He's a fellow ring announcer for Ring of Honor Wrestling, which we'll have him on again sometime soon and talk about. And so please welcome Bobby Cruz. There's no format for this. I got no questions written down. We're just going to speak from the heart, and hopefully you get to see somebody who changed a lot of people's lives, including the 3 people that will be on this podcast today. Ladies and gentlemen, our first guest on our tribute to Daffney, Shannon Spruil, wrote a heartfelt tribute to Shannon on Facebook a couple of days after she passed, and I was not aware that you guys were that close. How would I be? Ring of Honor ring announcer Bobby Cruz. Bobby, welcome under horrible circumstances, but kind of fun to have fun's a bad word. Kind of nice to talk to another ring announcer.
Yeah, David, thanks for having me. And let's make a deal. We'll do one of these again down the road, and we'll just talk ring announcing. How's that? Cool,
very cool. Because I didn't want to get off topic, but it would be fascinating to get another take on doing an empty studio for a year and a half, because it's a mine, you know what. But hey, so let's talk about Shannon, and of course we do this because mental health is a huge part. And the thing that blows my mind about this is, let's just say 500 people. There was 500 people who she could have reached out to, and 499 of them would have been in their car driving to Atlanta, and the one who wasn't would have been in New Orleans stuck in the hurricane. I mean, that's how beloved she was. People that knew her in WCW, you obviously met her later on. You had mentioned in your thing you had a little crush on her. I'll admit I did too. I was married, so I always behaved. But yeah, and I never told her that. But yeah, she was a very unique woman. And but she didn't reach out. And you've spoken to her. The last time I spoke to her was in April or May, and I actually asked her to come back on the podcast. She had done this podcast, and when the time is right, I want to put it out there for people to hear, because it was the first one we talked in depth. I battled anxiety and panic attacks my whole life, nothing near like what Daffney battled, what Shannon battled, but I didn't mind talking about it, and Shannon didn't mind talking about it, and we talked about her career and getting into WCW and the whole thing. We talked for about 2 hours, but about 40 minutes of it was about, struggles with mental health. So many times, you have these beloved people that you hear. What do you think? You talked to her before. The last time I spoke to her, she had lost her therapist. I don't know if you knew about this. I don't want to give too much away, but she had told me that her therapist retired and she was trying to find another one. But you've talked to her more recently. There's no format for this. We're just paying tribute to a friend and trying to figure out how we can help other people. So say what you want to say. Why do you think that she didn't just pick up the phone to one of those 500 people?
Yeah, I've asked myself that a lot, David, over the past week plus. Talked to other people. We've asked the same questions of each other. We don't know, and it's very frustrating, because I don't, it's something, obviously suicide shouldn't happen, right? It's kind of why we're talking about it now, is to let people know they can reach out to other people to talk and avoid that outcome. But, it's funny going back to the days of, when I first saw her, when you were announcing every Monday night, and I did develop that crush, and it was years later. I don't think I ever met her and started talking to her until her TNA days. And then I know for a fact that we didn't become close friends until she was out of wrestling, basically. And that's just kind of ironic because I'm very hard to be close friends with, or maybe even friends with. I like time to myself. I have my shoot job just like you do. Then we go do ring announcing, and I've got 2 daughters in college now, and they're both athletics. So I'm going to their games. And so when I have like Bobby time, I just want Bobby time. I just want to sit down and watch Netflix or watch something, And but she became, a very, very close friend. Not only one of my closest friends in wrestling, but one of my closest friends in my life. And it's pretty amazing when I think back about how that happened, because that's just not me. I don't usually let people in like that. But again, I've asked the same questions that you've asked, and other friends of hers, the people that loved her have asked. And it was actually, this tragic night, we were getting the remnants of Ida up here in Massachusetts, and I'm in coastal Massachusetts, so we were really getting it. We got about 7 inches of rain. And I was at my daughter's soccer game. They played through the torrential downpour, which is up near Boston, about an hour from me. Came back home, and I got a text message from someone in Ring of Honor saying, hey, we know you're really close with her. There's talk on Twitter and so forth that she's saying, she's on, Instagram Live, and she's saying some stuff that she may hurt herself. So I Googled it real quick. I went on Twitter and tried to, I don't even have Instagram, so I don't even know.
No, I don't either.
Yeah. So we're the only 2, I think. Sure Justin has it. But
oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm a little panicky. I just got home. We got this torrential rain just pounding away. I got a tornado warning on my phone, and I'm like, the tornado warning didn't matter. I'm like, I wanted to find out and talk to Shannon. So I shot her a text. I said, please tell me you're okay. I love you. I gave it 5 minutes, and then I called her, and I know, everyone else was calling her too.
I called her 12 times. So.
Yeah, that had access to her. The first time it went right to voicemail, and then every other time I called, it literally was, and I'm sure you got the same thing, voicemail box is full. I'm sure everyone was leaving messages trying to get to her. And then I did see 90 seconds of the video, and it obviously broke my heart just seeing the pain she was in and how she was saying she was alone. Because ironically, as you mentioned, 500, that may be a low number. I mean, she had...
I was just picking it out of air. It was a low number for sure.
Yeah, she's so popular and so loved and well-liked by everybody. And I know of multiple people specifically, and now I know you too, that we were trying to get to her. And, it's people from all over the country. There was someone, one of her good friends, LaFisto in Canada was I was texting with her. Have you heard anything? Do we know? Because, once I settled at home, getting home from my daughter's game, like, okay, well, the Instagram Live, she shut it off. Well, now you don't know what is going on. And it's like, that was a long night. And, just hoping, one of my close friends in Ring of Honor said, just stay off social media the rest of the night. You may not know anything the rest of the night, so forth, but how can you do that when you care about someone that much and you know that potentially something really bad has happened and you're hoping that someone got to her and so forth?
Yeah, I was refreshing her name on Twitter. Yeah. I was texting with different friends of hers, and really kind of it was like 12, 14 hours. The world stood still, and we all hoped for the best, and unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, I actually got a call. I mean, the news didn't come out until, what was it, early afternoon, the following day on the Thursday. I got a call about 8 a.m. From, actually, it was LaFisto who called me because she is, such great friends with Shannon, but also friends with other people. They've worked together in, women's promotions and so forth. They have that bond. And she called me, and I'll never forget it. She said, sorry for calling early. Not that 8 a.m. is early when we're our age, right? We can't sleep that late.
Well, I could actually, but I didn't that next morning.
So, yeah, I wasn't gonna that morning, certainly. She said, I promised you I'd call you as soon as I know something. And I said, okay. And she said, it's not good. And she said she did it. And I just didn't know what to say. I knew how close she was with her as well. So we were both hurting. And I thanked her for calling me. I don't want to keep her on the phone and torture her with talking to me about or whatever. And that was it. So, and I think it was maybe 4 or 5 hours after that is when it actually came out, as far as being released. The family put something out through Shimmer. But I tell you what, David, I knew the night before, the night of the Instagram video and stuff, to me, I knew, I just knew when seeing her in that much pain and so forth, and the fact that no one could get a hold of her, and trying to reach out and everything, my gut unfortunately told me that night that it was not going to be a good outcome. And I don't know if you had the same feeling, but
I did. I was hoping that I was wrong, but
of course,
only thing I was hoping was maybe she took had a few drinks and went to sleep, and she was just sleeping while everybody was worrying. We could all joke about it, in a couple of weeks. But yeah, what really stood out to me is it's a testament to how much she was loved and respected, that pretty much the entire wrestling business knew by 9 o'clock in the morning, and nobody, not one person, said a word on Twitter. We were telling each other. Crowbar told me, and then Shark Boy texted me, but nobody put it on social media. Everybody respected her family's wishes and respected her, which really shows how much, this is a business where people like to talk.
I was pleasantly shocked that it took so long to become public knowledge.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
because obviously that's the way the family wanted to handle it, and that's who should have say in how it was handled. I was very you can't be happy about anything in this situation, but I was like, I guess it was just, I was happy about the fact that it didn't leak, and it came out in a release that the family was involved in the way they wanted it to be. And she knew both my daughters, and but she specifically knew my daughter Sarah, my older one, better, because Sarah would travel with me for Ring of Honor more. She was more into seeing everyone and hanging out at events and so forth. But of course now, college has started. My daughters are in class. So I text my daughter Sarah and I said, call me when you are free, out of class, and you're alone. Because I knew what her reaction would be, because I didn't want her to read it on Twitter. I didn't want her to find out that way. And she called me within 10 minutes, and I said, are you alone? And she said yes. And it's hard. I told her what happened the previous night, and she immediately broke down. And of course, I was breaking down for days, and still do at times, sporadically. And it's very tough. She had such an impact on so many people, and it goes back to, and I've talked to different people about it. At that moment, or during that night specifically, she wasn't feeling loved by all these people. She didn't, wasn't thinking of all the friends that she had, and so forth. She was thinking that she was alone, and I don't know if something happened to trigger it or what, but again, you probably had the same feeling. If just one of us could have gotten to her, we probably could have at least bought enough time for authorities to get to her and take her out of there or whatever. But it just wasn't meant to be. And that's the heartbreaking thing, because I really believe if she could have been saved that night, I think she would have rebounded big time. Just knowing how she is and so forth. Obviously, there were some things going on, but I think in the end, I think Shannon would have come out really, really strong. And that's as heartbreaking as her being gone, is the fact that I think she would have come back really, really well.
I didn't see the stream, But apparently, according to Crowbar, who we're going to talk to next, apparently her phone is ringing nonstop while she's posting this video. So she would have just picked up the damn phone.
Yeah,
I mean, it almost makes me angry, but you can't be angry because she was hurting so bad. But she just pick up the damn phone, which, you know, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and I'd be happy not to be talking to you, quite frankly. Nothing make me happier.
Right.
Nothing personal.
I said the same thing. I only saw 90 seconds. I don't know how long it was. I had zero interest in seeing anything beyond that.
No, I didn't want to see.
You know, and but you could hear her phone going. It was vibrating. That's what I heard. I heard his phone just vibrating constantly, going off. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, just answer. I mean, one of those might have been you. One of those might have been me. Like,
no, it wasn't me. I didn't find out till after the stream was done. But I could tell you the Crowbar was calling every minute. He was calling during the stream.
There were so many people calling her, and so that is what really breaks my heart and frustrates me. Is I think she could have, with the proper help and some time, I think that she would have come back. You know, because when I talked to her recently, she sounded really good. There's been times, you know, and you're not the first one that's reached out to me over the past week plus that has said, I had no idea you guys were that close. And like you said, how would I? Like, no one really would. Like, some of my better friends in Ring of Honor know, because I've had her come to Ring of Honor, different events and so forth, whether it was Atlanta or New Orleans during Mania Week, and we had her come out for our Women of Honor final and just get introduced to the crowd and everything. But she, you know, I despise being on the phone. I love text. Like, anyone that calls me, I'm just like, ugh. But she would call me, and I'd be like, if I didn't answer, I'd call her back. We'd be on the phone for 90 minutes. And we very, very rarely talked about anything in wrestling. It was, yeah, what are you up to in Ring of Honor? Well, what do you mean I'm up to? I've been, you know, a ring announcer for 18 years. Well, and so we'd move on to just different things in her life. Over the summer, I thought she was really good. You know, we talked in July. I had been after her for a while, especially when I knew she was feeling down at sometimes, about coming up here. I told her, I said, I'd fly her up here, come hang out for the week. You know, when I'm doing my shoot job, you have the house to yourself, watch TV or sleep. We'll do whatever you want. We'll grab dinner, just get away from Georgia and so forth. Just kind of, because I know she wasn't going anywhere. And finally in July, she agreed to come up as soon as this fall. She was going to come up. And that is another, like, selfishly, another heartbreaking thing. Like, because I think it would have been good for her just to kind of come up here and hang out, no pressure and so forth, just as friends and hang out. And that's obviously not ever going to happen. And that's heartbreaking too. But, you know, she just 4 or 5 days before this tragic night had sent me a message, and it was a picture of me, her, and my daughter, Sarah. It must have been like a Facebook memory that popped up recently. And she sent it to me with a heart, and I always responded to her with purple hearts. It's like, that was the color for Daffney. It was always purple heart. And I responded with a purple heart. And that was the last contact we had. 4 or 5 days before was just me, her sending that picture of the three of us and me responding with a purple heart. And now I think back and I'm like, that could I have said, but you don't know. Like, she was fine. She was sending me, I don't know if you have Snapchat. So I have Snapchat, but I don't really use it, and I certainly wouldn't be good at it. But there's such a thing. My daughter's told me that Snapchat streaks, where they have friends that they Snapchat each other pictures of anything, and they have like year-long streaks. It's just a daily thing back and forth. And Shannon was trying to get me to do that, and I was like, I'm not going to remember to keep this streak alive. But she would always send me a picture, and she put streak. And that was going up until the last week as well.
Hey, I think I heard maybe in your Facebook posts, I've read it a bunch of times, especially in the last 24 hours leading up to this. I think you said she was going to class.
Yeah, she was talking about. I had this conversation with David LaGreca when from Busted Open before I went on with them a week ago Friday, and he had said the same thing. And I know she said it in passing, but she was looking to get back to going to school. And I don't even, be honest with you, I don't even know what what she was looking to do, but I know she had mentioned it in a conversation, and then and David LaGreca had also said that he had talked to her about it too. So that was another thing she was really upbeat about. She called me another time, I think it was maybe July, where I think I was like, it was a Saturday. I know it was a weekend. It was a Saturday because I'm vacuuming my pool or something, whatever. She had called. I missed the call. She left me a voicemail. Anyone that's ever got a voicemail from Shannon, sometimes she'd leave 2-3 minute voicemails, just catching up, or it's like she's having a conversation.
Yeah.
She would like say everything she wanted to say while talking to you. So I called her back, and she was on her way. She was very excited. She was on her way to a niece's birthday party or something like that, a family function on a particular weekend day over the summer. She was really excited about that, but her voicemail was like, "Hey, I'm driving to this family thing. I got an hour while I'm driving. I figured I'd give you a call." And that was Shannon. That's the kind of stuff that she would do. Instead of me, I would just be driving and listening to music because I don't want to be bothered with anyone. Shannon says, "Hey, I'm on this hour drive. I'm going to give you a call."
Yeah. She was a special person. She really was. We bonded the first day that she was in. She came to Nitro and did the audition. There was like they flew 3 people up there, and for I think what was going to be a week role, and she ended up making a legendary career out of it, as I put on Twitter the next day. But yeah, I guess the thing that Bobby Eaton died, and that sucked, and I cried, but we knew what it was from, and there's so many questions that we're just never going to know. And so anybody that's watching this who knows somebody who personally goes through mental health issues, look, I know for a fact that not anywhere near as bad as she had it, but I know for a fact the mind is a powerful tool, and a lot of times not in a good way, way. But if you get yourself distracted, as hard as it is, man, you can fight to, and I hate to say this, but fight to live another day. So we'll never know why she didn't. I wish she'd have picked up that damn phone. Let me ask you a question, because you were tight with her apparently. Is there a good time to put up that I don't want to do anything to promote it. I even thought about maybe doing the thing where if you want to listen to the podcast, you have to put $1 or $2 towards the mental health association. We're just talking out loud here. Like I said, there's no format. What do you think? Because I want people that maybe didn't know her or didn't know her whole story to hear it. She was so open and honest. Give me your thoughts on that, because I'm really struggling with it.
Yeah, I don't blame you, because I've actually thought of the same things, David, because I think there's a lot of fans or people out there who don't know how awesome she was.
No.
And I'm not even talking about Shannon the person. I'm talking about Daffney. Like, she was awesome. And so I think I've been thinking of the same thing. Is I want to put out there, hey, check this out that she did, or check this the other thing out that she did, on Nitro or whatever. But I'm like, well, it's to me, I'm thinking maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple weeks. Here's the other thing, and you knew her well too. She may be pissed we're even having this conversation about her, because she didn't have an ego. At least when I knew, she didn't have an ego.
She never had an ego.
Yeah, she didn't want attention or anything like that. She could have had an ego. She could have had a very big ego, especially like you said. She did an audition, and it was going to be a one-off, whatever, and she made a multi-year fantastic career out of it. And not only the stuff she did as a manager and a wrestler in WCW and in TNA and other, the indies, obviously, but, she was very well respected and was doing stuff behind the scenes, creatively with, women's promotions and so forth. So she was just a great talent, besides a great person, which obviously to me, the great person outweighs the great talent, but just an amazing talent. And that's what I want people to appreciate about her. And if either remember her like we are for being a great talent, but also if people aren't familiar with her, this WCW, as you well know, hasn't been around for a while. And TNA stuff, she was doing her thing there, but I want people to just be able to see how great she was. And it's kind of like you were saying, put that podcast up again. I think it's a great idea if you can come up with some fundraising thing for it. But maybe in my opinion, I think, in a couple weeks, maybe I'll feel comfortable, a couple times a week posting, hey, check this out, check that out.
Have you seen the clip from WCW where she won the cruiserweight, I think the cruiserweight title off of Crowbar?
Yeah. That clip, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too.
I hate to say it, living in the Northeast, I was a WWF guy, so I'd go over to you guys when they were in commercial. But I wasn't one of the contributing factors to you guys wrecking them for 83 weeks in a row. But I saw that last week, and I totally forgot about it. It's so awesome. And she was such a natural, the facial expressions and so forth. And I also watched last week where Gene Okerlund interviewed her. I don't know if it was the following week or whatever, but he basically said you're going to have to defend the cruiserweight title. And she was awesome. I mean, just her facial expressions and how she acted and what she said. She was a natural.
I mean, she created, I don't know how much you know, I'm sure you know a lot. She created that character, basically. Wrestling was not super scripted like it is, at least in WWE back in the day. I have Jericho on a podcast. He did the 1001 wrestling holds thing. And I said, did you tell anybody in management about what you were going to do? And he's like, no. And I said, I knew it. So basically, they gave her a character as somebody who was stalking David Flair, and she created Daffney. She created the T-shirts. Those were all her with the different sayings. Everything was her. The creative didn't do anything but just kind of run with it. And, and she didn't have a wrestling background. She was an actress that was coming to play a part. She took to it like as fast as you could ever see anybody take to it.
And that's the other thing, too, is, I want people who weren't familiar with her or people who were and forgot, so athletic. The stuff she would do, the splits and the different things. And she was so athletic. She was just, I hate to keep using the word awesome, but she just was awesome. And you think back, I mean, you know better than I do, but you were living it. But back in the day, then, I mean, she wasn't with people who were in main event stuff. You know what I mean? She was, kind of mid card, with David or with Crowbar or whatever. It seemed to me, and she became a big, big star. She stood out every time.
No, absolutely, 1,000%. She certainly did, and that was all her. Like I said, they just took what she created and they ran with it, and I'm glad they did. Yeah, I don't know that I've ever told this before, but people ask. I've been doing this 30 years and on and off, and people ask, what are your favorite top 5 moments, or not moments like matches and stuff, just times you've had. Like one was Ric Flair's 50th birthday party that I was at, which is always cool. Just as an example. One of my top 10 moments was me, her, and Fit Finley on in Germany on a European tour. We had no planning whatsoever. We just happened to all three of us be if we had a day off, we happened to all be in the lobby. And hey, what are you going to do with that? I think Dave said, I'm going to go to a German bar, and she said, oh, I'll go. And I said, well, I've always loved drinking with Dave Finley, so I'll go. And we got hammered that afternoon and laughed, and it was just, it's one of the top 10 moments. I've said that, I know I've said that before when she was on with me, so it's not like I'm saying it because of the situation, but such a fun person, man, such a ray of light.
Yeah, she is. And one of the last, I know I mentioned it in my Facebook post, but one of the last times we really hung out was we were doing a Ring of Honor event at Center Stage, and I asked her to come, and she was a little leery. She's like, oh, I don't know, but she's kind of out of the game and stuff. And she's very close with Hunter Johnston, our booker for years and so forth, and other people. And I said, and other, like our newer people, I'm sure they'd love to meet you, it's watching you, when they were younger and so forth. And I got her there, and she was so happy. She just hung out, and she just sat right by production all night. She was just having fun. Just the two of us went to dinner afterwards. I don't even remember the name of the place, but I know it was packed, so we had to sit at the bar, and we just talked for a couple hours and just were hanging out. I totally forgot. Like, so I'm a wicked lightweight. I'm a beer salesman for a shoot job. Selling houses like you, but I'm a beer salesman. I've been doing that for 20 years, and so I drink beer and so forth. I don't drink the hard stuff. And that night she was having vodka or something. And I'm like, well, I'm like, where is this going? Like, how are you even functioning? But she was right, straight as an arrow. She was great.
Well, not only did she drink me under the table in Germany, she drank Dave Finley under the table, and that's almost impossible. Yeah. And we would joke about it whenever we would see each other, and me and Dave Finley would talk about it. As recently as I was up visiting them with my wife at his house a couple of months ago, and we were joking about it, about how she drank it. He had to tap out. He said, "I got to go back to my room."
It was a show. I mean, literally, like I said, I'm drinking a few beers or whatever. It was a show. Just me sitting there, eating the food we ordered. I'm drinking beer and just watching her just one after the other. I'm like, whoa.
I think that's growing up an Army kid in Europe. But all right. Hey, I appreciate your time. This is not fun for either of us, but I thought it was important to tell her story. We're going to talk to Crowbar in just a little bit. And he has a different side because you sort of got to know her towards the end. Everybody that knows her stayed friendly with her and in touch with her because, like I said, she just lights up a room, which is ironic because she was in such a bad place at the end that you'd never know that she was somebody so positive.
I'll tell you, David, that smile, just like whatever, you yourself could be going through something bad or whatever, but you saw her smile was so huge, and it lit up a room. I just hope, we don't want to dwell too much. We're trying to remember her, celebrate her, how great she was as a person, as a performer. My hope, I guess, I don't want to say only hope, but maybe my only hope at this point, because there's no coming back, is as down as she was, and we'll never know this, right? I guess I'll leave it with this, and hopefully I don't break down. But when she got off that Instagram Live, there was obviously a time in between the Instagram Live ending and whatever took place. I'm hoping that she did glance down and look at her phone and see all the texts, not even necessarily reading them all, because I know she wasn't in the right frame of mind, and seeing 150 missed calls or whatever it was, and realizing, in those final minutes, whatever it was for her, that she looked down and said, yeah, I did matter to people. People did love me. I just hope that happened. She was in a place. Yeah, she was in a place, I'm sure, where obviously she realized there was no turning back, but I'm hoping maybe that was her last thought.
Yeah, like I said, so many unanswered questions, and it's so sad. So for sure, anybody who knows anybody who's dealing with a mental health issue, who deals with a mental health issue, there's so many, not everybody like Shannon could reach out to 500, 600, 700 people who would come rushing over. So if you don't have that, or even if you do and you choose not to use it for whatever the reason is, I urge you, and I'm going to continue as we talk to Crowbar and as I did in the open, to just to keep in mind life is precious, and it always, it's as bad as it may sound, it's still worth being around in pain than it is not being around at all. And
I agree. Yeah, it's very well said. And yeah, she had hundreds, if not more, people trying to get her that night. But for anyone else, as you said, that's struggling, all they need is one person. They just need that one person to get to them and hopefully save them.
And if they don't have that person, there's all kinds of 800 numbers and free numbers. All you got to do is Google it.
That's one person. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby, thank you so much. We'll get back together and chat some ring announcing down the road. I'm sorry for your loss, obviously, I look back and I'm kind of jealous that you got to, spend more time with her on the back end. I obviously got to spend more time with her on the front end, but we did keep in touch, and I did see her. And last time I saw her in person was in New York City WrestleMania weekend. I think there's a video floating out there of me interviewing her from a place that I don't support anymore. So I'm not even going to mention the site, but I think it is floating out there, and it was great to catch up with her.
If it's out there, I'm going to look for the video. I don't care who it's.
I'll PM you and let you know. I just don't want to promote it because the guys ended up being a real jerk. But yeah, he paid me to go up and interview people WrestleMania weekend for about 3 or 4 WrestleManias, and the last one was that one. And I'm glad that at least I worked that one and got to see her and talk to her one more time. And she told me in that interview, and I had forgotten about it, that she was really getting into doing seminars, that she would work with, that she didn't pride herself as much on teaching people how to do a high spot. She even said this. She said, but I could work with their character and say, if you do this, if you tilt your head this way, or if you do this at this time, the audience will react differently. And she said that she would work with them, then they'd go have a match and they'd do what she said. And then they'd come back and they'd be like, oh my God. And she was so proud of that. And she would have been so great at it. And, unfortunately, COVID happened and people got stuck inside. And there's going to be stories written about the toll that took, in the future as well. Lots of tolls that have gone on. But, I just wish you could have had the opportunity to kind of continue doing that, because she would have been booked every weekend. I guarantee you, man. You know that too.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the conversations I had with her over the summer, so it pains me to say one of the last, because summer just ended. So, but one of the conversations we had over the summer was about that specifically, and how she was doing that and was loving it, and you're exactly right. She could have made she could have made another career out of that.
She took a 3-week idea and created a character that was went down as a legend in the professional wrestling business. And she had, not only that, she had to keep recreating it, because as we know in this business, you can't live off of what you did 5 years ago. You got to keep, as Chris Jericho has shown everybody 118 times, if not 200, you got to keep recreating yourself. And she kept recreating that character. And
that really is what's incredible, David, is you look at, especially early, but any Daffney in WCW, nothing like the Daffney in TNA, or the Daffney that was doing Shimmer, and so that down the road, a completely different while being the same, but just as effective.
Yeah. Well, God bless her. If I had a cocktail, I'd hold it up. I know you have one. I got water.
I'll be here. We won't show the brand, but brand ID.
Well, God bless you. I'm sorry for your loss, and I know we're all feeling it. The wrestling community was crushed, and it's going to take a long time to get over. But I thought it was important, like I said, to talk about it just a little bit and pay tribute to her. She was a wonderful person, an incredible character, and just an amazing woman. So.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. And I don't know how I got through this without breaking down. A couple times I came close.
I did too.
Yeah, when we sign off here, I'll go and let it loose. But yeah, I could. You nailed it, and I'm glad that I'm glad we met a few years ago during that all-in weekend. And
yeah, we got a picture. I think didn't we? Didn't we get a picture with me, you, Rick Abani, and Justin Roberts?
Maybe. Well, Justin is such a picture guy, and whatever video. A text and say, hey, you have the picture of 4 of us, because it does ring a bell. But yeah, after watching you for so many years and respecting the job you do as a fellow ring announcer, it was good to finally meet you and realize, okay, David Penzer is a good guy.
Well, thank you, and back at you, and we'll definitely have you back. And I'm really actually intrigued to talk, get your comments and thoughts about the the pandemic studio wrestling, because I'm sure it's a culture shock to both of us, and all the companies made it work in different ways, and we'll do that another time. But cheers to Shannon Spruil, and appreciate you hopping on, my friend. And again, I'm with you. It's painful, but we got to do this, and we got to spread the word and keep telling people what a wonderful person she was, and keep reminding people that there's always help there, so that if anything, that maybe if we could save one other person because they listened to this podcast or they heard her story, then, knock on wood, then I'll take it.
Absolutely. Just takes one.
God bless you, my friend. I'll be back in touch. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
So we're here now with Crowbar, Devin Storm, Chris Ford, my old friend. How are you, sir?
How are you, Dave? So good to see you.
Yeah, which was under different circumstances, but
Of course. Yep.
So we just spoke with Bobby Cruz, who got to know Shannon Daffney, who this episode is in memory of, after she left the business, which I'm glad for a lot of reasons that I asked you to come on, maybe because you started out with her, but also because you could provide the beginning of the story since he provided the end.
Absolutely.
You guys broke in together, and what was meant, as we've said, what was meant as a couple of series vignette character turned into, and I was talking with Bobby about it. She did it herself. You know that.
Sure.
Nobody, she did all those shirts herself, and all the different nobody like decided overnight that we're going to make this girl into a star. She took it upon herself to do it, and you guys all did, the young guys back then. First of all, just tell me about your thoughts on what's a tragic situation, obviously.
It's just, this is everything went down, and I got so many calls, and everybody wanted me to speak because we were together from the very beginning. And as you go through the emotions, you're upset, you're in disbelief, you're just down, and you're just not feeling. And all these people don't mean bad. They don't feel, there's no malice. These are all people that genuinely cared, and they wanted me to speak about it. And I just couldn't. And then your text came across, and I thought, who better? You were actually there. You saw us three young kids having a great time, and you could validate that what I'm saying is true, and you would understand because you were right there when all this thing started, the fun. And like I said, the whole experience, it's not fashionable in this business to say it was so much fun and we had a great time. It was so much fun. We had a great time. And at that time, we were three kids that they threw together, all from different backgrounds. And it was just a lot of fun. We enjoyed every single second. Vince gave us a lot of liberty to develop our characters. Like, he would give us bullet points, but he gave us liberties to really take our characters where we wanted. And there were so many car rides the three of us, or just me and Shannon, would spend, or me, Shannon, and Shane Helms would be in the car, and we would just brainstorm crazy stuff that would be appropriate for this wild cast of characters to do. And I know, you being backstage, before we go any further, I want people to understand how grateful Shannon and all of us were to be in that spot. We were three kids that couldn't believe we had this incredible opportunity. We were three people that they put together. And sometimes in a lot of walks of life, in workplaces, you throw three people together and it just doesn't mesh. There's been plenty of tag teams or factions that when they threw them together, they might have been good on screen, but they weren't that great off screen. They didn't hang out or whatever. They threw us together, and everything, we were all very similar personalities, grateful, happy to be there, couldn't believe we were given this opportunity. And it was just a great chemistry from day one. You know what I mean? It was just an incredible chemistry from day one. It was absolutely amazing. And I know you saw that.
Oh yeah, it was fun to watch. You guys were having a blast, and it was funny because a lot of guys weren't having fun anymore. But you guys were just like, hey, if you guys aren't going to have fun, we have this opportunity. We're young and we're going to roll with it. And it sometimes on days that it got frustrating, it made it fun again to see you guys do your thing and really recreate yourself. You mentioned Shane Helms. He told a story on Twitter. I don't know. I'm assuming that you were there. about how the first time he rode with Shannon and perhaps you, she got a station wagon by mistake. All right, now, all right, I got a problem with this story. You've gotten plenty of rental cars before. Don't they have on the rental car, doesn't it say, unless you're Emerald Isle when you pick out the car yourself, doesn't it say, I am renting a blank, blank, blank with license plate number blank, 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 and ID number blank, blank. I think she ribbed you guys.
Maybe. I don't know. And that would be right up her alley too. You know, she would do something really fun like that. But it was so funny driving around in a friggin' station wagon. Just imagine that scene. And it was, I think it was the only time I've ever been in a rental station wagon too, as well.
Who knew they rented station wagons? Who would rent a station wagon? Shannon would rent a station wagon. That's
yes, absolutely.
First of all, before I forget, I want to ask you, the clip's been going around where she beat you for the quote unquote beat you for the cruiserweight title. Have you seen it lately? Oh,
I've watched it many times and I've showed my kids. My kids laugh so much. You know, I'm getting a wedgie. I'm getting, we do the Indian burns. We do all this stuff. And we had to run in from Candido, and it was a really crazy concept because she was managing me and we somehow co-held the cruiserweight championship, and they presented us this idea to have a match. And like, what do? I go, well, clearly it can't be an intense, I'm going to kill you, you're going to kill me match. It had to be something comical. And that was the only way to go with this whole thing until the finish when Chris Candido interfered and he gave me the pile driver on the chair. But we said, how, we're basically, our characters are two kids where we're a little wacky, we're impulsive, we do this stuff, we were great friends. So we basically said, what would two kindergartners do if they got in a fight with each other? And so we have the wedgie there. We threw a Frankensteiner in there. I did a splash on there, and I was, oh no, I'm so sorry. And we just tried to make the most out of that match. It was so much fun. And I think for what it was and what it was supposed to be, we pulled it off great.
So just so I'm sure, is this, because I only saw the finish of this match. Is this the one where she's Candido leaves you laying, and then she's over you, tending to you and
shaking me to see if I'm okay.
And the referee counts you three. And first of all, she didn't know what happened, and then they handed her the belt. She was like, "Screw!" And
she's thrilled.
She's like, "I'm the champion. Screw you!" That's fantastic. I'm gonna watch it again. If folks at home haven't seen it, you can easily find it on Twitter.
Great, as we call it, great haha.
Yeah, no, it cracked me up 20 years later. So, did you keep in touch with her?
We spoke often, actually, like not spoke. We either spoke or texted maybe at least once or twice a month. More so since COVID hit. And I'm just telling you, I'm not trying to push any of my new stuff, but I started doing new stuff during COVID, and she was always creative sounding board for me. She would always hear my ideas, and she came from an acting background, so she had great insight. She was very creative herself. So I would come up with these videos and these vignettes, and I would send them to her, and she would critique them. She'd tell me what was good, and she really helped me fine tune a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now. I started doing this stuff during COVID for fun, just to give me some kind of wrestling outlet. I love wrestling, Again, not fashionable to say. I fucking love wrestling, Dave Penzer, and you know that. COVID pops up and it's taken away. So I start doing these things, and I'm regularly showing them to Shannon. She's giving me feedback, maybe tweak this, tweak that. This is cool. That's not cool. So we spoke just about life and about these videos and all kinds of stuff pretty regularly, at least once or twice a month, if not more, all through COVID. And I actually had spoken to her probably the week before. I had gotten a booking for a signing in Pennsylvania, and they wanted her to fly up as well. I said, "Hey, these guys are bringing me into Allentown, Pennsylvania. They want to bring you in too. Is there any way you could come up?" She goes, "Oh no, I can't. I got this new job." she was doing home health aid stuff. She seemed to love it. She said she found it very rewarding dealing with the senior citizens and helping them out and all this stuff. She seemed so positive, just moved. But I had called her the week before and asked her if she could do this date. And that was the last time we spoke, and she sounded awesome.
It's not, nothing's funny about this, but it's ironic that you bring up the helping you with your vignettes, because me and Bobby earlier were talking about the fact that one of the things is the last time I saw her in person, and I interviewed her for another video network, which I will not promote. But I recently watched it back. Somebody sent it to me, and she was talking about how she was doing these seminars with wrestlers, not so much about wrestling, but about characters, about promos.
Yeah.
And she was so proud of it. And, you know, Bobby said, you know, they had just had that conversation as well, how she really, and I think, you know, once COVID was over, maybe she wouldn't wanted to do it if she was happy doing, you know, doing what she was doing. But I think she'd have been booked every weekend because she was so good at the small little things.
Incredibly, I was so thankful to have her all this time. One, as a friend, you know, we would call or text her. Or, you know, she didn't text much. She would leave you a voice message. You would get that little recording.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't text all that much unless it was a really quick 1 or 2 word answer. You get a message. You know, she always liked to talk to you. You know, which was really great. And she had such a knack for that, and I think she really could have come into her own doing that.
Oh,
she was so
1000%.
gifted, so skilled at that from her acting background, and she just saw little things that I'd miss. And I really, it was a real blessing having her in that capacity. She was completely amazing.
Curious, have you talked to David Flair at all?
I have not spoken to David in many, many years. I love David too. He's great. We just don't communicate. I know he's not too active in the business these days. I'm going to guess maybe 6-7 years ago, there was a local promoter that put David, Daffney, and me together for a signing, and it was just a great day. It was so much fun. It was great seeing David, great seeing Daffney, and it was something that I would have loved to have done again. And I know there have been some promoters along the ways that tried to put the three of us together for these, and one of us couldn't make it, one of us can do so. It just never materialized again. But the last time we were together, again, guessing, maybe 5, 6, 7 years in that ballpark.
I'd have paid $30 to get a picture with you three for sure. Hey,
thanks, Penz.
I've seen David at some non-wrestling things. He's over the business pretty much. I don't want to. Yeah, but you love professional wrestling. I love professional wrestling. He can care less.
Exactly.
But I know he has great memories of his time. You know, not so much maybe the pressure that he had, but the fun that he had on the road.
Sure.
Not to go to a bad place, but you're a smart guy. You're a doctor. You've been friends with her for 20 years, more so than I have. Our relationship has sort of been, you know, on and off friendship, which is a lot in professional wrestling. A lot of the friendships, you know, you don't see somebody or speak to somebody for 3 years, and then you see him and speak to him. It's like yesterday. It's like you just left him at the bar at the hotel the night before. Speaking of bars at the hotel, were you in Germany when she drank me and Finley under the table in German pub?
I was not. As we said before, I was never one of those guys that went out too much. So
no,
you traveled together. So I heard how great it was. But I'm saying
but you heard about it.
Yes, of course. That's legendary.
One of my top 10 experiences in professional wrestling in 30 years. We didn't plan it. We just happened to be. I told the story to Bobby. We happened to be in the lobby, and Fit was going to find a German pub to go watch soccer, football as they call it. And I was like, well, I got nothing. We had a day off. I got nothing to do. Shannon's like, I got nothing to do. And I didn't know at that point that she grew up in Germany, an army kid, and I don't know if it was army, but Her father was military, and yeah, 3 hours later, and it's easy to drink me under the table, but it's not. It's no easy feat to drink Fit Finley under the table. That guy could drink, and she just blew us away. But yeah, that is a legendary story.
Yes.
I've been very open about this, and I had a Shannon on my podcast a couple of years ago, and at some point I want to put it out, and maybe see if people could donate $1 to the mental health awareness, some group to be able to listen to it, because I don't want any promotion from it. I don't want anything from it, but I'd love for her to be able to tell her people that didn't hear her story to tell her story, because we spoke for, just like me and you did, we spoke for over 2 hours, and she was very open about her issues with her mental health, and I was very open about mine, which it was the first time I ever talked publicly about it. And there's no comparison. I've battled anxiety and panic attacks for the better part of my life, but I obviously was never in a dark place like that. But I do understand that the mind is a powerful tool, sometimes not in a good way. Any insight? And then we'll get off it. But as to what got her in that state of mind, that she wouldn't even pick up the phone when hundreds of her closest friends were calling her.
No idea. Like I said, my last conversation, it wasn't text, it wasn't voice messages back and forth. I called her and I got her about the potential booking in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I said, hey, do you want to do this? And she goes, oh, no, I can't with my new job. And I'm moving, and I really can only do Zoom messaging, signing virtual signings now. And she seems so upbeat. And you go back to other famous people like Robin Williams, seemed like the happiest person. And, you're finding more and more of these incidences where people that are really happy, you find out that they take their life, and they were in really a dark place. And I had known that she had her battles with that before, and in recent memory she'd seemed great, like she was excited about her new job and her move and yada yada yada. She seemed very positive. It took me by total surprise, and we were getting a lot of rain here that night. We had with the remnants of the hurricane, and it was pouring out here. And I was backwashing my pool, trying to get the water levels down so it didn't flood. Lightning hits, we lose power, and but my phone is still okay. And my phone starts blowing up, and I find out what's going on. That day I got on Instagram. She had been on me forever. Cruz, you got to get on the gram. You got to get on the gram.
I'm not on Instagram.
So I got on that day. I haven't done anything with it since then, but I got on, and that enabled me to actually see the feed, because prior to that day, ironically, I had no account at all on there. So I'm messaging her on there. I'm texting, I'm calling, and I said the toughest part was that you hear the phone going off during the feed, and one of those calls or texts is you, and she's just choosing not to answer. It was just very sad. And again, did not see it coming. So, maybe it's a wake-up call for all of us, that if we know somebody that's dealing with something, even if they appear to be real jovial, very happy, very satisfied, that maybe we should just check in a little extra, maybe. I don't know.
No, I think you're right. And you just don't know. You don't know what's going through people's minds. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. And that's why I want to put up the original episode at some point. I don't know when the time is right. But if it helps one person who's in a bad place, who thinks about this interview and me talking, to you, or if it was a Crowbar fan or a Ring of Honor fan, Bobby Cruz, or a Daffney fan, if that could help one person and save one life, then.
And also for the people around those people. Like I hung up the phone. I had parked in my gym and I spoke to her about a good 20 minutes before I went in. I was in the gym parking lot and I got out of the car. I'm like, wow, she sounds awesome. No, like it wasn't. So if you know somebody that's is or has been struggling with things, maybe even if they feel or appear to be great, maybe say, hey, let's just put the brakes on for a second. Is everything okay? Be straight with me. You know, I care about you. I love you. What's going on? And just actually, I don't know. It's really changed how I think about things like that now.
Yeah,
it's
no,
crazy because I didn't see it coming at all.
I agree with you. And like I said to Bobby, you know, and I just made up this number, it's probably higher, but there was probably 500 people, if not more, that if she would have reached out to them, they'd have not only picked up the phone, they'd have been on the driving to
oh my God, yeah.
I mean, and the one person who maybe couldn't would be the guy stuck in the storm. But no, everybody would want to be there for it. She was that kind of person. She lit up a room, and she was just a super I don't have the superlative.
Such positive. She just came in and oozed positivity. She
Yeah.
just did. Boom. And she always made you smile.
Yeah, made everything fun. And just sad that she was in such pain. So yeah, I guess the one lesson we could take is if you think somebody, even if you think they're doing good, but you know that they've had a history, instead of them waiting to call you, just give them a call every once in a while.
Check in.
And you know, you got to learn lessons from everything. And anything else you want to say before we wrap it up? I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but I appreciate you coming on and just telling some stories.
No, I just want to say for people that, you know, those three characters you saw, you know, it was three crazy kids having a lot of fun. That wasn't too far from the truth. That really wasn't too far. And you know this, and that's why I really want to do this with you more than anybody else, because you were there. And three young kids blessed with a great opportunity. And what you saw was just real life with a little bit of an amplifier on it. And those three characters were pretty true to life. You know, I say the Crowbar character, you know, with the face and the smile, the weird smile, that was just Chris Ford having a great time living out his dream. And with two people, Shannon and David, that just made the journey all that much better. And, you know, as great as that person was, to know that person outside of the ring in real life, she was just amazing. And light up a room, always with fans, amazing. You've seen her with fans, amazing.
Oh, incredible. Took
her time, never rushed, you know, whatever. Asked with little kids, there was just a magic about her. And this whole thing is just extremely tragic. It's just a great person.
Yeah,
I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
No, I've rambled this whole thing. Bobby rambled, and that's what this is. Magic is the word I was looking for, and you picked it out of the air. It's a perfect word. You know, it's funny. I think about that time, and like I alluded to earlier, it was not a particularly fun time for a lot of people in WCW. The company was falling apart. We didn't know what the future was. So, you know, you'd see some of the veteran guys be like, "Screw this! This is gonna," you know. And then, you know, I'd be like, "This is horrible. I can't." And you guys would be like, "This is great! I'm having the time of my life." And then you realize, you know, like I said earlier, it makes you realize that, you know, hey, you know what? Just enjoy what you got, and don't get caught up in the crap. But hey, I didn't know that a lot of people reached out, and this is the only conversation you had. It means a lot to me personally, and I'm glad you did. And let's stay in touch more.
Yes, I like that, Pens.
All right, I guess got water, but here's to Shannon, my friend.
Here's to Shannon. I got a Propel. I think that'll be cool.
All right, cheers, man.
Cheers. Miss you, buddy.
Miss you too. Thank you so much. Best to your family.
Thank you. All right. Same to you, Dave. Thank you so much.